Hi all, welcome to Kerala English Academy. This video I'm going to focus on IELTS speaking tips and some misleading facts or information which you can see on YouTube or other online platforms. As you know, IELTS academic and general tests are similar. So these both tests got a part one like an introduction section, and part two is like you're going to speak about a topic for 1 to 2 minutes and you'll get a 1 minute time for preparation. IELTS got 4 modules: speaking, reading, listening and writing. In all those 4 modules, speaking is the one where you can score the max out of 9 because it's the easiest module if you can understand proper and prepare properly for the exam. So let's look some tips where you can score more on a speaking test. You always have to give full answers even in part 1 or part 2 because they are trying to test your language, how fluently you can speak. So they are expecting a full answers for all the questions, and if it's a long question at the end try to conclude the question so the examiner won't get a confusion like are you done with the answers or are still you're trying to say more about the answers. So with the conclusion they can get an idea you done with the answer. Being polite and a good body posture is always good, but these are not for the marking criteria, but you can get a positive impression towards the examiner. They're not worried like what kind of dress you're wearing or what kind of shoes you're wearing. You won't get any mark. For example, like, oh, you're wearing a Adidas or a brand new Nike shoe, okay, you score 1 mark. No, nothing like that. But it's always it's nice to have a pleasant attitude and good body posture. So even examiner, they're also humans and they get more like a comfortable. Then your answers should be loud and clear. Why I'm saying loud and clear, sometimes we are so scared or nervous about the exam, and so we speaking really low voice, so sometimes the examiner can't hear what you're trying to say. So there is a chance you can lose the mark because it's not audible to the examiner. So you have to be more like loud and clear. Another important one is always stick with the topic, because for example, like examiner asking you a question like do you think these days people using laptop regularly, and you saying like I don't think so because a lot of people using mobile phones, and mobile phones are so easy to use. It's touch screen, so it's easy to charge, and you start talking about the mobile phone, but the topic is question is like asking about the laptop. So always try to focus on the topic and answer to the topic. Don't ever use fake slang. You know why? Sometimes a lot of students come with the fake slangs. They try to watch some movies or some videos and try to imitate those slangs. The problem is like they try to ask you a different question which is like something difficult for you, or something you can't answer right away. Then the real slang gonna come out, and that's gonna make a real tough situation for you. And for the examiner, it's so easy to trigger or easy to find out if someone is using a fake slang. They are doing it for a long time. It's like they're already been with the millions of students with the test. So never ever try to use the fake slang, because language is just to communicate. So if you using your own slang or like or Canadian slang or like a US slang, whatever slang using doesn't matter, as long as the examiner can understand what you're trying to say. That's all matter. So never ever try to use a fake slang. The next one is don't memorize answers. You know the problem, because when you memorize the answers, you can speak that answers really fast and like a really nice way, and the next question something a different area and you can answer it, then it's completely different the way you answering. So they can easily figure out like you are memorizing the answers, and that's going to make a bad impression, and that's going to bring your score really down. So like I say, always try to speak naturally, because it's just the IELTS general or academic, it's a speaking test. So you don't want to make all the like a fake slang or all these things, because they are just testing. Because when you get into a foreign country or English speaking country, how good like how you are able to perform there, are you able to communicate there. So they are just testing your capability. So you don't want to make any unnatural way of speaking or different slangs. So just speak naturally the way you speak normal. So that's how you can keep that flow throughout the exam, and even examiner don't feel like you speaking something like an artificial way. So just make sure you're not faking or imitating anything. Always remember, in IELTS exam, they're just looking for your cohesion, coherence, pronunciation, grammar, vocabs, etc. So you need to focus on that part rather than like all the fake accents and memorized answers. In YouTube, I found so many videos says like body language and hand gestures are really matters. But if you go to IELTS official website or IDP website, it clearly says these are not matters. It's like if your hand gestures normally coming, that's completely fine. You just want to speak naturally as you speak to any other individual. And some people think like you can't use any slang or you can't use any informal language, but it's a speaking test. So you just trying to show the examiner how you're going to speak when you get into a foreign country. So in the reality, if you think like when you speak someone outside, when you go to a grocery store, you're not talking to them like a very academic way. So you just speak just you may gonna use some slangs, or you use like informal language. That also, it's all completely fine. You don't want to worry if you use these in IELTS exam. If you check IDP website, it clearly says you can use informal language in IELTS exam, both academic and general, because it's just testing your ability to speak. So don't memorize academic formal phrases, because it's kind of feel like unnatural or robotic. So examiner feel like you just by hearing some those words and just splitting out on the exam. So don't try to use that. When you by hearing all the uncommon fancy words, those big words, when you're using it, you just want to make sure like it's proper, you using it properly and it's okay with the situation. Because sometimes you're trying to squeeze these words into the some sentences, and it feels so weird, and it's not suiting for the situation. So in that case, you're trying to score more using these words, and what happened exactly is like you start losing mark because of these words. So when you're using, you have to be very careful, and you got to be very clear the idea, like the meaning of that words, and how that words using it, and what kind of situations you can use the words. And you should have a proper idea, otherwise no, don't even try to use it. And some people ask like is it okay to learn all the common topics and questions? I would say it's okay for the preparation. It's okay to go through all the common questions and the topics, but you got to make sure like there will be more questions coming. Maybe that's not something you already prepared. So you got to be always ready to answer that side also. Because sometimes you prepare a topic, and you got exact same topic in the exam, and if examiner asking all the question, and at the end they start asking like something different questions which you never prepared, then you don't want to get like upset, or you don't want to get stressed out. Another major problem with the students are they just watch YouTube videos, and the phrases you see there, or you memorize those phrases and use this on the exams. But the problem is, examiners are very much skilled to figure out when you use those memorized words, and just use your common sense. They are examiners, and for sure they are also watch these videos, so they want to make sure what kind of materials there in the YouTube or outside. So when you come with these pre-planned answers with the examiner, and when she came to know this is from a YouTube video, how do they figure out how do they feel it? So just make sure, when even though you're watching all the YouTube videos 10 phrases or top 20 phrases, all those, make sure you're using it proper, and you just not copying and memorizing all these from the YouTube and just throwing in the exams. And another one is idioms. Are they help us to make score better in the IELTS exams? I would say yes and no, because these idioms, it should come naturally, and it should fit with the sentences where you use it. If you memorize a couple of idioms and use it, and you try to squeeze in, then it's going to affect vice versa. The best way to practice idioms is you can watch a lot of podcasts there in the internet. You listen those podcasts and see how often they use the idioms, and how they are using the idioms, or even slangs and phrases. So you will get an idea. You can't make you speaking for 2 minutes, and you can't make 5 to 10 idioms and 10 or 15 phrases in between. It's if you overusing it, it's gonna make a negative impact on your exam. So in this video, my main goal is you have to speak naturally, even though you find even though you use all the phrases, idioms or whatever, it should come naturally. You can't just squeeze any of these things in your conversation. And a lot of students have doubts second part of speaking test, you will get a topic, and there will be 3 or 4 bullet points, and there is a confusion should I go all these bullet points and answer it? Should I go in the same order? These are all common questions asking all the students. So these bullet points are actually helping you to answer. It helps you to answer the questions, and so you don't want to follow any orders, even though you're going from the last to the first, or you're just starting with the middle bullet point. It's all okay. You don't need to follow one by one, and even you just talking almost 2 minutes and you couldn't cover all the bullet points, still it's completely fine. Because if sometimes what happens is you talked 3 bullet points and one is missing, and the examiner told stopped in between because there is a time limit, that's completely fine, because they are just testing your vocabulary and your language. So it doesn't matter you just went through all the bullet points, or you just missed some. It's okay, as long as you presenting proper and you speaking proper, and that's all about it. Like I said in the beginning, if you're missing a bullet point, it's not a problem, but you have to stick with the topic. If you're going out of topic, that's going to affect your score. In part 2, there will be so many different questions, and sometimes you can get stuck. For example, there is a question a gift you received. That's a part 2 question, and for example, you don't feel or you can't remember any gift you received recently, or gift you received on your birthday. Then in that situation, it's okay to make stories, as long as it's kind of a reliable story. Then it's completely fine. You can say oh, on my 3rd birthday I got a bicycle. Maybe you didn't get a bicycle. They don't care. They're just focusing how you're presenting your topics. as you know, you need to speak 1 to 2 minutes for the part 2. So sometimes you get stuck and you don't have much to say. Then you can use WH questions. So you ask yourself WH questions, like WH question means what, why, when, where, all these questions about yourself. For example, like I said, a gift you received. When you ask yourself, when was the gift received? Then you talk about that when. What was the gift? You talking about what was the gift? Then from where did you get the gift? Or like a place you visited, where was the place? What was the place? When did you visit? So then you can make like more sentences, and you can keep going on for 2 minutes. One of the best strategy for part 2 section is like PPF. That is called the past, present and future. Maybe you get kind of confused. For example, you have a question like a place you visited. That's a question. Then PPF is like you're going to talk about that place like a past. That means like you visited Cochin. So how was the Cochin when you visited? Like 5 years ago you visited Cochin. Then there was no metro, and there was like a lot of things wasn't there, and you're talking about all these. And then you start talking about the present. And I got a chance to visit like a week ago. Then I was so surprised that these things has changed. A lot of the metro is here, or like new buildings came here, and one of famous park there. So all this past, and even in the future you can say like I was talking to, or I was reading a news, and or in a newspaper it says like in the future there's some big projects coming, or these gonna make a real big difference to the to Cochin. And so in the future these things going to happen. So this way, past, present and future, this way you can speak any topic for 3 or 5 minutes without any hesitation. So I hope you enjoyed this video. So see you soon on another video. Thank you.